This is Goals with Soul, the podcast for visionary coaches and entrepreneurs, building your business with inspired action. In alignment with your mission and authentic message, so you can create impact for your soul clients and feel lit up every day. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, married mum of 3 daughters from London and a former ad agency director turned business coach and strategist. In Goals with Soul, we blend revenue generation with energetics, marketing strategies with pranic healing, and ambitious business goals with our soul's desires. If you're looking to build your business with less efforting and more ease, this is the podcast for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to this episode of Goals with Soul. I'm Jo Ingram, and if you've ever wished or wondered about being paid to be you, about showing up, being yourself, speaking your truth, and building a phenomenally successful business as a result, you are in the right place today. Today, I'm welcoming Vanessa Hallick. She's a mindset and intuitive business coach who helps spiritual leaders up-level their impact, their wealth and vibrancy through energy, mindset, and aligned strategy. She helps you unleash yourself, uncover your signature methodology, and fall in love with selling and serving, so you can create a ripple effect of change in the world. She's also the author of the best-selling book, Paid to Be You. And on top of that, she is a personal mentor to me. She's someone I deeply admire, and I am so delighted that she's joined me on the podcast today. And I cannot wait to share her message with you. We chat about how to be unapologetically you, how to receive divine compensation for your innate gifts, and how to lean into radical honesty. I'm super excited about this. Let's go. Welcome, Vanessa. I'm so happy to have you here on the show today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks. And all the listeners as well.
Absolutely. I mean, as I said in my intro, you have been on my list of the most desirable guests I could possibly have on my show right now. And I'm really excited just to get straight into it because your backstory just resonated so much with me. And we talk about resonance all the time. And ladies, listeners, this woman just made me tingle when I heard her message. So before we dive into the real meat of what you teach and how you show up, give us a bit of a backstory about, what's it's been like for you on your way to becoming such a successful coach.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I've had the divine pleasure of working with you, which has just been such a gift, and to see you shine in the world and share your message. So I wrote Paid to Be You it was published last year. And basically the journey to being paid to be me, unapologetically me, has been an interesting journey. And I think for many of us, we kind of start this business and we're like, I need to get out of those unfulfilling jobs. I need to create something different for myself. And I soon realized in the path of doing this work that there was something so much bigger. And there was so much more joy that I could create in this work, and so much more that I could show others as well. And that we've got these innate gifts and this wisdom and this knowledge, but most of us are completely unaware of it, which I was until I burned out in 2018. I was suicidal. I suppose it's kind of my dark night of the soul. I'd had a long period of severe anxiety that I was completely unconscious of. And the business really, up until that point, reflected that imposter syndrome, deep disgust for who I was, not feeling that I really was worthy or had a message to share in the world. And that was my disruption, my pattern interrupt of really coming back and aligning with my truth. And the more that I've worked with clients and the more that I've started to really get to know myself and my gifts and my knowledge and what I'm here to do as a soul in this incarnation, I've realized the bliss that we have in this lifetime. That life really is about fun and joy and doing the work that we love. So I am here really to help others see that now and help them create. So I was actually looking at the definition before this call of being paid to be you and what that means. It is really around receiving divine compensation for the innate gifts, skills, and knowledge that you already hold, which you already have within you. We're often like, oh, I need to be like so-and-so, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. It's about speaking your truth. And speaking your truth is about radical honesty about what is coming through you, what you're channeling, what you're downloading. Being unapologetically you, which is a really interesting thing, is that we're so far from being who we're actually meant to be. So authenticity is such a key thing, and it's something that's just chucked around. The other component of that is selling what you really want in the way that you want it, with turn on radiance and vitality while you're doing it, while you're experiencing it. So that's where I'm at now, in a space of really, receiving divine compensation, working with the best clients in the world, like Joe, and doing work that I absolutely love, and spreading that message to, I suppose, anybody that's ready to hear it, because not all of us are ready to hear it. So that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, there is so much to dive into in all of that. But before I ask you those questions, one thing that really piqued my interest is when you talked about your dark night of the soul. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this came to you when you were already a six-figure or multi-six-figure coach. And for some people listening, that's going to jar a bit, because we kind of think that burnout is when we're on the way. And yet there's some holy grail that suddenly we hit these numbers, whether that's the six-figure, multiple six-figure, whatever it might look like. And suddenly all of your problems are solved, because that's the goal. And yet that wasn't the case for you at all. Tell us a little bit about kind of where that mismatch was.
Yeah. So this has actually been some really deep integration work for me around money, because of, as you say, I had a great six-figure salary or six-figure business. We were literally in Bali. I just got engaged to Sean, and we were traveling Southeast Asia. So literally, and I've got goosebumps now, because this has been the big journey, is like, what was the difference? Why was I making money? And literally I'd had a six-figure week just before literally crashing. So this time and that's really what the book was all about, is, so it's not everything. The money is not everything. And it doesn't mean when you get the six-figure or the seven-figure that all of a sudden you're happy. It's like, losing weight or getting to the seven figures, whatever it is, or getting that relationship, and you think, oh, my life is magically going to be different. The issue was, or the biggest thing that I can understand now, is unresolved trauma basically was driving me. So I had a deep need and a deep drive, that high achiever, imposter syndrome. I don't want to look bad, but I also had a high drive for success and achievement. So I was amazing at hustling. I was amazing at getting things done. But if you don't, what was happening on the actual surface was I was getting things done and I was achieving, and I was, a success by all means, and kind of the definition of what success in society is. And that's also what we're really collapsing now, pulling apart, is success is not about the house, the car, the money, when you get there. Success is really about, how do you feel in the inside? Are you in alignment completely, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically? And here's the truth, and this is really what I go through in the book, is that I was physically able to receive that money. I was physically able to hustle and do that until I wasn't. And burnout is not about doing a lot. It's about doing a lot of unaligned shit that you're not meant to do, from a space of completely doing it to prove something, push something. Working from that wounding of not feeling good enough, you're just going to be pushing until you can't. And we'll see this phenomenon in society a lot, of people achieving a lot and then completely disappearing. So what I've really been looking at is obviously, why did that happen? Why did it happen for me? But also, why did it happen so that I can also help others so it doesn't happen to them. So what I understood was that I could physically manifest that from that wounding of hustling and struggle, but I was in survival mode. So although I was achieving at a high level, mentally, I had severe anxiety. Spiritually, I was completely disconnected. My channels were closed. I was struggling to kind of create my messaging, download my offers and things like that. And emotionally, I was on this roller coaster. Everything external to me, if a client got a great result, hallelujah, I was like, hi. And then, when it wasn't that, I was in the dumps. So the journey back to actually kind of expanding the business in a sustainable way has been healing those different layers and the trauma. So suicide as well, the polyvagal theory is incredible, explaining that fight, flight, and freeze. And basically, I'd gone into freeze mode. I'd gone into complete shutdown. And that's when death is kind of the only way out for you. You feel helpless. I felt fearful of everything. But I also obviously believe that I experienced it to be here now, to work through it, to be able to see it in others. So although it was it was the most difficult time in my life, I'm here now because of it. But I had to heal those different elements and I had to come back to myself. So yeah, that's why paid to be you it sounds really glamorous, but it certainly hasn't been the case for me. Although, of course, now that I can see things and clients in a different way and also work on those elements, that it is, yes, money is incredible. And that energy and frequency of money and being a channel for money is awesome. But to be able to actually hold that money and receive that money and to create sustainability, if we're highs and lows or deep imposter syndrome, deep unworthiness, we are literally just driving our nervous system to the ground.
Oh my goodness, that is so true for me. My own experience, whilst not being exactly like yours, I went through a very similar process of this achievement wound where I had just grown my whole life. My goals were to achieve and then get this and then do that. And I think that I had systematically believed that that's what made me worthy. And to disconnect myself from that limiting belief and to show up in a way with a different vibrancy has been a massive learning curve. And literally every time I take a step in that direction and allow myself to receive compensation for just being myself, I gain new levels of confidence and I find new ways to resonate, which not only, of course, attracts clients, but makes me happy. Dare I say, makes me happy?
Makes you happy. Exactly. And that's where that ease comes from. That's where, literally being you and divine compensation is when you stop doing things to prove your worthiness and you know that you're innately worthy as you are. And then the actions that you take are very different. If you're trying to prove or you're trying to do things or achieve things to feel worthy, well, we're going to just keep getting on that hustle wheel and we're just going to keep going and keep driving and keep driving. And in fact, it'll never, ever be enough. And that's when it also, if you look at a client when they're building their business, it'll be the same thing of like, I need to do more. And the splatter marketing or like, I need to be on this platform and that platform. It's never enough. I need to do more because it's actually from a wounding of I'm not good enough. So if I do more, then I will magically feel good enough. And then when I get there, well, I'll never feel good enough because I haven't actually changed my internal drivers. I haven't come back to the truth that I'm worthy now. And all of that other stuff doesn't make me more or less worthy, more or less successful.
And the title of your book is super intriguing, Paid to Be You. I think it piques people's attention because ultimately we don't want to be paid to be doing, striving, pushing, hustling. We do want to be paid to be us. So tell us a little bit, give us a bit of a glimpse inside the covers of what it's really about to literally show up and receive that divine compensation, to be paid just because of who you are. What does that mean to you?
So I think we've covered a little bit here in terms of that happiness that you mentioned, that real happiness of, I get to share this message. I get to work with these clients. I have these innate, incredible gifts. I have these things that light me up that maybe, so-and-so doesn't love it, or so-and-so doesn't resonate with it. Or maybe I've always wanted to be able to do X, but actually looking at what are the incredible, or most of that is actually conditioned stuff. You should be doing that. Like, I grew up in a household of like, you should be a lawyer, you should be an accountant, and you should be a doctor. And like, that's what you should do. So even when I got into my business, I was like, well, I'll never be good enough. And I fell into that, almost that like hobby business, but it was like a real business. It was like kind of there, but not fully there. And pay to be you is really understanding that you get to have fun and joy and pleasure in this life. And you get to work with the clients and do the things that you love. And you get to actually use those things that light you up, that you're reading or you're watching and you're like, oh, that's exciting. Or, the things that you've studied or the courses that you've done, whatever really deeply resonates with you, you get to bring that. There's no coincidence. You get to actually bring that into your work without, and this is often what I hear is like, I don't want to bring the things that I love into my job or into my work because I don't want to ruin it. And that I think is such an outdated paradigm, especially with coaching, especially with healing, light workers, the work that we do online. You are your brand. And the work that you do is an extension of your brand, and the life that you live and the things that you love and the joy that you bring is all you. It is not these separate entities that you create. And the more you can be, essentially, the more magnetic you are. The more you are you, the more money you make, because how refreshing is it in a world of facades and pretending and shoving down the shadow and shame and guilt and all this shit? How rare is it just to have a person that is completely honest and open about who they are?
It happens like magic as well, doesn't it?
It happens like magic.
I remember when I posted that actually I felt a lot of shame originally when I became a business coach, because I felt like I was going to get judged by my old corporate colleagues. Like, who does she think she is? And I had all these stories going around my head. But when I finally broke through that and I posted about it and I wrote a long piece about my feelings, I think I had one of the highest
it was huge.
One of the highest engagements I'd ever had on a post. It was like, people are like, I got this. This makes sense. And I really resonate with it. But I know for a lot of people, and myself included before that point, it's really hard to create radical honesty. So how do you kind of go from a point of this hiding, lack of visibility, maybe not wanting to reveal those things that make you feel uncomfortable, to getting into a place where you can be paid to be you in all of your glory and all of your shame and all the things that come with that?
So, I mean, it really does come down to unlearning and deconditioning. Why are we hiding? Why as a nation do we feel that we need to hide? Why does our inner child feel disgust and anguish over certain things? So that's always where I start with clients, layered with what are your innate gifts and what are your unique things and what light you up, and obviously creating their signature offer and their signature message, because I think that really creates that confidence. Most of your most potent messaging is in the things that you're hiding. So for you, also, you were hiding kind of your spiritual elements and your, your breathing techniques. And that was when you came out about that too. It was literally magnetic. So how I work with clients is understanding that there are going to be limiting beliefs. There are going to be childhood woundings. There are going to be societal beliefs around radical honesty, about speaking your truth, literally consumerism, major organizations, the foundation of their business is actually speaking to people that are wounded and not feeling good enough, not actually and hiding. So we need to understand that there is this paradigm and there is this weight that is happening. But here's the thing, it is not true. So when we can actually identify those beliefs and we can understand that they're not true, and we can actually bring that to our own awareness, coupled with the messaging that you have, the signature offer that you've got within you, the things that you love, as well as your story. Like, why do you do the things that you do in the way that you do them? And why did you do the spiritual work? Why is that important? And when you can understand that it's actually not really about you, essentially, anymore, when you realize that there is a bigger picture, when you have a bigger reason and a bigger purpose, and your soul came here for a particular reason, I think it really starts to shift. If you think, like with my burnout, yes, I was completely ashamed of it. This high achieving 6-figure, blah, blah, have this happen to her, how embarrassing. How can I tell people? What will people think? And that really was my first reaction to that. How can I go home and everybody thinks I'm a failure? And when I actually spoke the truth about it, it was amazing how many people had burnout, how many people had experienced that. So my work and my reason for actually speaking my truth was a lot bigger. It was a lot bigger than me. It was like, how many other women can I almost like pull back from this calamity by understanding what happened and sharing my story, sharing what actually went through. So I think when we can start to come into a higher level of consciousness and conscious awareness around the impact that we are meant to make, and that we have a purpose and we have a reason, and there is kind of that existential bigger picture of purpose. And that's really, I think it's a different awareness. It's shifting from it's happening to me to it's happened for me. And why has it happened for me? And I think that's made a big shift for me and my clients of like, you are your soul client. And just by sharing that particular information and guidance, you can literally shift other versions of you, and you can get paid really well for it. And of course, we want to get paid for the work that we, and especially if we've gone through something huge.
Exactly.
Yes, we can monetize it because we understand it. We understand how we've gone through it. We can see it in clients so much faster. And I think when clients start to see that, there's just a new awareness. I don't know if you want to share a bit more on that, because obviously,
yeah, it makes an incredible difference. I agree. And something that you really got me thinking about is that journey to woo. That a lot of us come out of corporate. I know that you were in corporate too. And we get to a stage where we start to struggle in our own businesses, just doing all the things in the way that we used to. And we start opening ourselves to new possibilities and spiritual practices and all the things. I know that you love human design and breath work, as do I now. We have all these things that are available to us, whether I know a lot of people love tapping and so on. But also I know that, like myself, and perhaps like you initially, people are only starting to make their first sort of touch points in this area and starting to integrate it into not only who they are, but also how they show up with their clients and how they integrate it. And for myself, I realized that I was actually coaching clients in spirituality as much as I was coaching them in business. And it took me quite a while after that to actually then bring it into my messaging, because I was sort of confused about how this was helping, because I didn't think it was part of my business. And yet I was getting reports back from clients that this was just making all the difference and helping them take the difficult actions. So I'm 100% on board.
Yeah.
But I also know from working with you that you help a lot of light workers and spiritual coaches. And I know that you've brought things like light language into your practice. And for some people, this is something beyond where they're at the moment. I would love to share a little bit about the way that this helps you and the way that it works with your clients, if that's something you're happy to share.
Yeah, of course. So light language really is, I suppose for me, it's really communicating with my higher self, connecting into multiple dimensions through my higher self. And because it's not logical, it bypasses the mind. So it actually speaks directly to the DNA and your soul at a higher light frequency. And it's kind of been mind-blowing for me, especially when it first started coming through and doing kind of light activations, DNA activations, soul activations, and understanding that, yes, we're moving into a space of more light coming onto the planet, moving into the golden age, the new age, a new paradigm of light. And more of us are actually receiving this activation and this guidance of light. So when I work with light language now, personally for myself, I'm working with light language as a communicational way to communicate with my infinite self, my eternal self, my higher self that has wisdom of all lifetimes, both past, present, future, whatever, although it's all happening in the now and we understand the quantum. So it is really the language of the heart in the unified field. So I can get guidance. I can receive guidance from all timelines in the now. So when it comes through me, I receive symbols and I receive particular guidance or information of the work that I'm meant to be doing in this realm. How I work with clients, and we're actually going to be doing an activation very soon in my certification, the pay-to-view certification, for those women that are ready for more light to come in. So we've had a space of a lot of integration of emotions, the shadow, the archetypes, divine feminine, masculine. And when we move into that, and that's really your 4D consciousness, that canopy, that dark canopy really between your 3D consciousness and 5D consciousness. So when we start to transmute the shadow and those emotions, we actually move into that 5D consciousness where we feel that wholeness, that oneness, the divine connection to our eternal soul, to multiple dimensions, to different lifetimes. So what this means for clients is increasing the light body and the light in your actual cells means that you're moving at a higher frequency. You're able to then start to channel easy. The cells literally expand with light. So they're moving faster in 5D consciousness. We're also feeling that divine connection. So at a deeper, profound level, it's actually activating and helping you remember at a soul level what you came here to do. We all are programmed in this lifetime. That's where human design and gene keys and how it exists. Our souls already have wisdom from multiple lifetimes, and we can live now in this now moment, tapping into all wisdom of our eternal soul. And it doesn't have to even happened in this lifetime. It is happening. So that's really what light language helps you connect into. But for clients, it is this deeper level of being paid to be you, because we can reset you to your soul blueprint. We are essentially light beings. The shadow and integrating the shadow is not so that we can live in the shadow. It's so that we can bring in more light. And when we bring in more light, things move faster, manifestations happen faster. And as you say, you can literally start speaking your truth and your clients will come to you. And that's the new vibration, that it happens instantly. Yes.
This does not sound like any business class you'd ever get in corporate. And it just goes to show, that once you show up fully alive in who you are and who you're meant to be, your message is so resonant and so exciting to people. that there's going to be a business there for you, which is really the fundamental message here. We're here to be ourselves, but we're here to build joyful, wildly successful businesses. And you mentioned earlier, you said about selling with radiance and vitality. And selling, gosh, it's the icky side. Everybody feels, at least when they get started and they're living out of alignment with their business, that it's like, I just want to serve. I don't want to sell. It's also icky. And of course, people serve, but are they serving at the highest level? And how do you really get over that and start to make serious money and impact in your business?
I think the biggest thing is, especially when we start, we're like, there must be this template. There must be this magical thing outside of me that is going to, make me millions, and people are just going to flock to me. And then we think, I need to do the sales funnel. I need to get this. I need to get the team. I need to get all of these things. And essentially it's not good or bad. But the most important thing is getting ourselves into the business. And when we're clear on what our soul's purpose is, what we're here to share, and we stop hiding the spiritual side, we stop hiding the business side, or we stop hiding whatever it is, and we can bring that in, you automatically become a magnet. And then the marketing simply becomes an extension. Like, how do you want to show up? Where do you want to be? And as I said earlier as well, if you're doing it from the space of lack of self-worth, then we're always like, I need to be on LinkedIn. I need to be on Instagram. I need to be this. I need to do this. I need to do that. Whereas your people don't need that. So what actually really shifted for me, especially initially, is understanding that selling was an extension of me. Selling was serving. Selling was fun. All it was literally waking up, sharing my message that was aligned, connecting it to the program that I'm selling. And it's so simple, like brushing your teeth. And the more you can get into that habit and that practice and that literal ritual, like brushing your teeth, no big deal. I just show up, I speak my truth, I share my message, I link it to my program, I put a call to action. And of course, it's easy. People just come because that's who I am. And I think when I started to really recognize that, with focusing more on what I want rather than what I don't want. So selling can be really hard. And I know that I've spent, like, during launches, my first launch was very stressful. It was like spending 12 hours, 24 hours, 24/7, I was thinking about the launch. And I wasn't actually working 24/7, but I felt like I was working 24/7. And there is actually not that much you can do in a day. Do a story, do a post, do an email, which can take you half an hour to an hour if you're not in your head about it. And then the rest of the time, if you can actually start enjoying your life, or speaking to clients, if you've got clients, working with them, doing the thing, and then sharing that magic with your community, it literally becomes a beautiful extension of you. And when you disconnect your self-worth from the outcome, you start to do the actions that you really want. So for me, I love writing, and I love writing emails because it's a little bit longer. I love stories because I can do the stories as I'm out and about doing my thing. I tried LinkedIn, lots of DMs, blah, blah, blah. I've tried to do longer Facebook Lives, which sometimes I do. But I like things where I can channel the information and I can share. And if we can get into that space of understanding and knowing that the message that is coming through us is more than enough, and getting to that point of like, well, if it's coming through me, I have this program, and all selling is it's certainty. It's sharing what I truthfully love. And then the other part, which is a more evolved part that definitely came in later for me, is understanding that in the quantum, your soul clients have already got soul agreements and contracts with you. It's like your parents. You've already got soul agreements and contracts to learn certain lessons in this lifetime. So essentially, those clients are already there. If you connect into your soul goal, not from a space of I need to prove, I need to purge, if you connect into that actual soul goal about numbers of clients that are meant to be in your containers and space, and it's actually an aligned goal, you will show up for that if it's completely aligned. If you're doing it from a space is like, I don't like that program, I don't want to do it. And then you couple that with the knowing that those people are already there. It's just getting you into the vortex. It's like you said, it's almost instant. When you're in your truth, when you're sharing the message that you're meant to be sharing, they arrive because they're already there. And I think this is what is really different to the work that I do to most business coaches, is that a lot of it's like, go and find out about your ideal client. And actually, yes, of course, you need to know who that person is, but a lot of it's around like, who am I? Knowing yourself, knowing what your message is, knowing what you're here for, and then creating a program that actually uses your gifts and creating so much certainty. And from that space, selling is so easy.
Very powerful stuff. And it's so true what you just said about when you're not in alignment, it just can't happen. And so often I get asked, and in the past I've asked it and I still ask it, like, oh, what's working right now, right? Oh, like you mentioned, oh, get into the DMs or build a Facebook group or many other things. And you can find evidence that somebody else has made $1 million doing exactly that. Fact. And they will share with you their success 5 points and so on. There's loads of it out there. But if you're anything like me, and it sounds like Vanessa, have just like tried things and done this. At one point, I think when I was maybe about 3 or 4 months into business, I was posting on LinkedIn, Facebook business page, Facebook personal page, Facebook group, Instagram stories, and I was running a room in Clubhouse.
My word.
Like,
no wonder you were exhausted. Hey.
I come up with this idea that if the purpose is reach and to get your message out there, and I was creating content anyway, I might as well just put the content everywhere. Yeah. And of course, there was no resonance going on there. And even worse, that was just before I got into burnout. And I was like, what the hell are you doing, woman? Yeah. And I had to take a step back and say, where do I enjoy showing up?
Yes.
What's the place that actually on a Monday morning, if I've got to create content, I want to be? And that shifted a lot for me. So it resonates a lot.
It's huge, isn't it? And that's also a big thing, is like, you'll hear a lot, get more visible, which kind of we immediately think do more, or get more consistent. And it's actually like, I've had launches where I'm consistent, where I'm showing up in the usual places, and they haven't worked because I haven't been in alignment. I haven't been in certainty. I haven't believed fully. And actually part of me is just not wanted clients at that particular time. So it doesn't matter what you do. It's just not going to happen. And that's where radical honesty really does come in. It's like, well, we start saying things like, I'm not good enough. I need to do more. I need to create more. But actually the reality is, visibility is not about being on more platforms doing more. It's about getting more of you into the work that you do, being truthful. And that's where it happens, because it doesn't matter how many places you are. That visibility comes from speaking your truth. And you can actually, I've seen clients not even be on social media and have 40K months because they're speaking about it elsewhere. So it's not about how much you do. Of course, the aligned action is essential. As you say, where am I being called to share it? And of course, social media gives us a direct dial to millions of people that could hear the most potent message. And this is also the thing. It's not going to get reach if it's not truth, or if you want to hide, or you don't want to be heard. So that's the magic behind all of that.
Beautiful. And when we talk about being in alignment, often I use that word interchangeably with being inspired action, aligned action. And I always love to end every episode with an invitation for people to take a piece of inspired action based on something that we've heard today. So Vanessa, I'd love to invite you. What could we do to step into this authenticity a little bit more and be a person who is paid to be you?
So I think the first thing that I would look at is, why is it not safe to be paid to be you? What beliefs do you hold around that? And then I would really look at like what lights you up. What lights you up that you're hiding? What lights you up that you're hiding? And what are you hiding that needs to be out there in the public eye? And that would literally set you free and support you with being a magnet. And then the last thing that I always love to look at is if you already have exactly what you want, whatever that is, what are the thoughts, words, energy, and actions of that version of you where it's already been done? So we have to understand in the quantum realm, it's already done. So we can align with that version of us now. And the more we can align with that now and take the aligned action as that version of us now, the faster we can collapse those timelines and create what we want and also have joy on the way. So we get paid to essentially be in the feelings and embody the feelings of that version of you that already has the 10K, 20K, 30K, 100K, whatever it is, and having fun and joy and pleasure without that being connected to your self-worth. So those are probably, there's lots, but those would be my top picks that came through.
Fantastic. No, fantastic inspired action there that, any of us can take a little time to think these things through, because ultimately they're the foundation and the basis for all the action and all the shit that we're doing all week. So take the time, get out your journal, think through Vanessa's questions, because they are powerful and they're here to serve you today. So Vanessa, if people want to know a little bit more, where can they find you online?
So on my Instagram, which is Vanessa Business Coach, that's probably the best place actually to go into my Instagram. Otherwise, my Visionary Entrepreneur Society group. Yeah, those are probably the best online.
And as always, those links are going to be in the show notes. So make sure you visit there later and click in so you can find out more about Vanessa on her website and Instagram and Facebook group. Vanessa, just remains to say that this has been an absolute pleasure and joy for me. Love hearing everything that you shared with us today. And I do hope that you're going to revisit with us at some point in the future too.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Jo.
Thank you. Bye. Absolutely amazing conversation. I'm literally buzzing following that. If you haven't already jumped into the show notes and found out more about Vanessa, please do. I highly recommend her book, Paid to Be You. In fact, it was one of the first ways I got to know Vanessa and her work. And if you're ready to uplevel your authenticity in your messaging and to bring your innate truth through, now's the time to focus on that so you can start to magnetize your soul clients. If that calls to you, go into the show notes and click on the link to book a free call with me, and we will dive into what the gaps are for you so you can up level and move forward in complete alignment with your brand soul essence. And if you've enjoyed this episode, but you're not yet subscribed to Goals with Soul and you haven't left us a review yet, now is the time. I would love to hear from you, what you're enjoying. And I would love for you to get every single episode downloaded directly into your podcast app every single week. And so have an inspired action week. Take care. Bye now.